14b/17 says each term of a sequence is greater than the term before it. The difference between any two consecutive terms is always the same number. If the third and sixth terms of the sequence are 17 and 77 respectively, what is the eighth term? All right, so first of all, I apologize for my handwriting. For some reason, it's worse on this problem than I feel like it is in general, so I'm sorry about that, but that's why I read it beforehand. And you should have it in your book. So let's ask our who, what, when, where, and how questions, starting with the what question. What kind of problem is this? Now, this is a type of problem that we don't see as often as, say, an algebra or a geometry problem. This is a numbers and counting problem. Or numbers and operations, I think is how the College Board defines this type of problem. And we know that because we're dealing with a sequence here. So yeah, jumping on to the when question here. This is number 14 out of 18 in this section, which tells us that we're probably sort of getting near the end of the test here, so we might be running a little short on time. We might be doing pretty well. It just depends on where you're at. The where question, this is number 14 out of 18. Now this happens to be a hard problem. The College Board gives it a 4 out of 5 on the hard scale. But we don't necessarily know that. Number 14 out of 18, this could be a medium or a sort of hard problem, we're not sure. And then the how question, how are we going to do this problem? Well, that depends. Notice this is one of our grid-in problems, so we don't have any answer choices to help us, so we're going to have to somehow set this problem up. That being said, remember that you don't lose any points for guessing on a grid-in problem. So if you're running out of time and you just jot something down, say I said 100, it's not going to hurt me if I jot down 100, if I bubble in 100. It's probably not going to be right, it's a shot in the dark, but it's worth the shot since you're not going to lose anything. So getting to the who question, once you've answered those first 4 questions, you want to ask yourself if you want to skip this problem and move on to other problems in the section, or if you want to try it. And we're definitely going to try it. So let's do it. All right, so hopefully you remember what a sequence is. A sequence is just some sort of pattern of numbers. Our particular sequence here is unique in that each term of the sequence is greater than the term before it. Now what that means, what we can infer from that statement is the numbers are getting larger, meaning we're not going to bounce around from like a positive number to a negative number back to a positive number. So that helps us tell something about the sequence. Then we're also told that the difference between any two consecutive terms is always the same number. All right, so that's important because what it means we're dealing with here is a type of sequence called an arithmetic sequence that has a common difference between terms. So that's going to help us to set this thing up. And then probably the most striking information that they give us is they actually give us the third and the sixth terms of the sequence. So they tell us the third term is 17 and the sixth term is 77. And we want to find the eighth term. All right, so a lot of times it helps to circle what we're solving for. And in this case, it's going to be the eighth term. So actually 100 might not be a horrible guess. We know the sequence is getting larger based on the fact that they tell us each term of the sequence is greater than the term before it. So something like 100, 90, I don't know, something sort of in that range might not be a bad guess if you're completely out of time and you just want to jot something down. So let's talk about how we're going to do this. And the way I like to do it is kind of methodically, where we don't have to use any formulas. There's a formula for this type of sequence that we could use, but I don't want you to worry about memorizing stuff like that. So we're going to do it methodically, and I'm just going to set this up as a sequence. So 17 represents our third term. We don't know the fourth term. We don't know the fifth term. We do know the sixth term. That's given to us as 77. We don't know the seventh term, and we don't know the eighth term. That's what we want to find. So I'm going to represent that with a question mark to show that that's what we're going to be solving for. All right, so then if we know that the difference between each term has to be the same, one way to find these terms in between here is just guess and check, right? I can say, all right, maybe this thing increases by, say, 15. If it does, then this next term here would be 17 plus 15, which would be, I'm going to write it in here in a different color since we're just guessing and checking here. 15 plus 17 ends in a 2. It's going to be 32. So if this thing was increasing by 15, then the next term would be 15 greater than 32, which would be 47, which leaves a difference between 47 and 77 of not 15. So we know that 15 isn't going to work. So we can keep using trial and error like that, and it actually won't take very long because we can probably increase by, say, 5. We might want to increase to 20. And see how that works, and we can make adjustments from there. Another way to do this is we can easily find the difference, the common difference between the terms, by basically finding the average in a way. It's like finding the average. The way we can, well, not quite like finding the average. The way we can find the difference between the terms is we can find the difference between the third and the sixth term. So that would be 77 minus 17. And then we're just going to divide that by the difference in term number. So we're going to find the difference between the value of each term and divide by the difference in term number. Remember, the 77 represents the sixth term, and the 17 represents the third term. And if I do this division and the subtraction, what I get is 77 minus 17 is 60, I believe, over 3, and that simplifies to 20. Oh, so that's what I was going to use for guess and check anyways. So I would have gotten there. So that means this is the difference between terms, or the common difference, which means that this fourth term here is going to be 20 greater than 17, which is just 37, and then this fifth term is going to be 20 greater than the fourth term, or 20 greater than 37, which is going to be 57. And we see that works because now 77 is 20 greater than 57, so we can easily find the seventh term to be 97. And therefore, that would make the eighth term 20 plus 97, which is just 117. And that would be the answer we grid in. So not too difficult, right? And we did that kind of using not much in terms of formulas. We kind of just used logic there to solve this one, which is a really good method. Logic is not overrated. It's very helpful to be able to use that.